My name is Nkiruka Onyejocha. I'm a member representing Autonomy Federal Constituency. I am from Abia State and a member of Constitution Review and the chairman of Southwest Part 1.
So what are you expecting from the Constitution review, especially as it's happening across Nigeria?
What I expect is that Nigerians should feel that this particular process is theirs. Like many people are saying, oh, they don't know when the 1999 Constitution was amended. So it's like giving it back to people to make their input so that we'll bring out a constitution that will be solely owned by us.
We've seen a lot of constitutional review before. Are you hopeful that this one will be different under the 90s Assembly?
I do not know what people have seen before. I also know that constitutional alteration is very dynamic to the extent that society is evolving. What you think will be the end may not be the end because every day things are changing. And of course, where we were last 2 years, last 4 years, is not where we are today. Nigeria today is battling on survival, and the Igbos are battling with existential forces. And so to say, oh, this will be the end, or it's going to be cast on stone or cast on steel, it will be very bad to say so, because life is about change. Things change every day. We may even wake up tomorrow and then you have a lot of things put in place that you don't need laws again. So what I'm saying is that there's nobody that will tell you, oh, that they've seen many constitutional alteration before, and is it going to be the last? The answer is, it may not be the last, but what we want to achieve is that let it be a step that will correct a lot of abnormalities in our constitution.
Well, there are a few problems with our country. There is still this mentality of, I am in government, I'm always right. Even when you are not right, you use the police, you use the security to force your views and opinion down the throat of the people. But what we are looking at is, who are those who actually have government powers? It is the people. If they are allowed to vote the way they want to vote, definitely those in government will be able to know that once they do not do the right thing, they could be recalled or they will not be voted for the next time. So if the only time the people are relevant is during elections, there will be no time they will ever be relevant. So what we are saying is that the government that is closer to the people most is the local government. And the areas where the resources of this country come out is mostly at the local level. Which resources do you get from Abuja, for instance? Okay, so the resources, the revenue of this country come from those local areas. And so the views of development start first from the local area. For instance, people just sit in Abuja to write a budget, put money to it. We don't even know what is in any budget. How many Nigerians see the budget of this country? So what we are saying is that before you decide about development, let it start from the local level. It is people in Alimosho, for instance, that know most of the roads that are really bad. The man in Alausa may not even know. So, but by the time the idea of what should go into the budget of the state start from the local level, through the local government above, we will see that we have priorities on the things that borders on the people more than what is a political development. Political development as to, as a governor, I want everybody to know I am performing. Therefore, you do things that have been done before within a particular locality, whereas the interior is terribly bad.
I'm Comrade Ismail Bello, the Acting General Secretary of the Nigeria Labour Congress. As I said, the question of implementation is a different ballgame. What we are here to canvass is to insist, as we have done in several presentations before now, that Labour should be on the exclusive list, and that the issues of minimum wage should also be on the exclusive list. And we rest our position is premised on the fact that everywhere, all over the world, in all countries that are members of the ILO, that have also ratified the several conventions that guarantees wages in the different countries. Countries that are also federal in structure, the question of labor and the question of minimum wage is always on the exclusive list. And so Nigeria cannot be an exception. And if you also look at the principle of minimum wage, the principle is to safeguard the very poor wherever they may be. It has nothing to do with being in a particular state or being in another state. Wherever that vulnerable worker may be, you are setting the bottom. You are setting the lowest below which no one should go. That's the idea of a minimum wage. So that's why we believe that let's leave it on the exclusive list so that it will apply to everyone, irrespective of their location, and then states will be at liberty to negotiate and improve the condition of their employees in relation to their resources. But for those at the bottom, there should be a minimum that everybody should pay.
Okay, sir. Talking about minimum wage, do you think those at the top that their wages should be cut down?
Now, two things are involved. Nigeria currently is experiencing some economic challenges, and that would mean that those at the end of affairs should think innovatively, should think anew, should prioritize what is important, what is not important. And we believe that payment of wages, minimum wage inclusive, should be a priority, because even in a situation of economic depression, in a situation of economic challenges and difficulties, you need to oil the economy through the income that people earn. And the income that goes to workers helps to power the economy, helps to oil the economy. But so what am I saying? What I'm saying in essence is that the political leadership must think innovatively when there's a problem, which will also mean that more and more sacrifice is needed to cut profligacy, to cut expenses that do not add value to the economy, to cut expenses that do not support very ordinary people, very weak people, very poor people. And that's why this kind of period requires that people in power, in authority, make sacrifices. They can reduce their wages, they can cut their various expenses, travel expenses, multiple cars, all of those things. Substantial money can be saved, and we can engage in progressive tax policies, which means the rich and the powerful will pay more to be able to keep the economy rolling. But a difficult period to begin to tinker with the wages of people at the bottom will further pulverize the poor. More so when you bear in mind that Nigeria is already rated as one of the countries with the poorest number of people. We have over 1 million Nigerians earning below the threshold of $2 per day. So this is not the period to further extract from poor people. This is the period to be generous in spending with poor people, to extract more and more from the rich, and ensure that the economy find its way back.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, the idea proposed by Nogi is that people within the locality must come together and demand for local government creation. We should be born out of population increase, the land mass, rate of development, ability to generate IGR, which can sustain the existence of that local government. For example, a local government being proposed to be created should be able to generate 50% of their recurrent expenditure. So if we set all these bases, there will not be abuse of local government creation. What we are witnessing is the clarion call, most of it is from selfish point of view. That because Taye has 7 children, I must also have 7 children. That is not the standard thing to go. What we are saying is that let the National Assembly through constitutional amendment standardize the procedure of creating local government. If the procedure, the criteria is outlined in a clear form, maybe between 500,000 to 1 million people can come together to create a local government. Number 2, that if they are able to generate minimum of 50% of their recurrent expenditures in form of IGR. Number 3, they have prescribed authority in terms of chieftaincy. They have social amenity schools, secondary school, one higher institution in that locality. They have market. Number 4, the land mass. Once that is done, they need to send their request through their National Assembly representative, who is representing them in Abuja, to let them know that they are ripe for local government creation. That can be transmitted to INEC to come in and conduct referendum. Once the referendum is conducted and they meet the criteria, there should be provisional approval given to them, and before the concurrence by the National Assembly, so that the procedure will become more simpler, unlike what we are witnessing presently. Number 2, if you allow state to create local government, it will be subjected to abuse and political intrigues, because any governor coming in with the experience of what they are doing with State Independent Electoral Commission now will want to create local government as a political favour to those who support him, and which means the freedom to decide, to have political interest, to have political expression will no longer be there. Because if you belong to Agege local government, for example, and you are not supporting the party that will come to office, it shows you are going to lose your local government. The chairman will say the local government is not viable, it's margin it. Number 3, it will allow governors to continue to pilfer local government fund. It's a license to diversion of local government, and the grassroots development and growth will suffer for it. This agitation will continue. People will be restive and they will lose faith in the nation. That's why Noge has come out today with a clear proposal that let the National Assembly set this criteria. Once you meet the fine, for example, the 34 local government, 37 local government that has been development area that has been created by local government. In Lagos, let's subject it to that referendum. Let's subject this constitutional procedure, and once they meet the criteria, grant it to them. If Kanu can do the same thing, grant it to even those who are in existence. We must revalidate them. Let us know, even those who are created from another state, do they meet the criteria? If they don't meet the criteria, you need to prune it down. It must be fiat justitia, justice for all. And again, we said that there must be absolute autonomy for local government, both political autonomy and financial autonomy. Political autonomy in the sense that all the purported election conducted by State Independent Electoral Commission has been a charade. It's a fraudulent process. And for us in Ogo, we believe that once the process of emergence of leader is fraudulent, that leader cannot deliver. So our belief is that they should scrap State Independent Electoral Commission and allow INEC to conduct the election. We are saying this because in a state, for example, you see them if they conduct gubernatorial election, you see some House of Assembly from one party, another one from another party. If you conduct Senate election, you may see one senator from party A, 2 senators from party B. But if you allow State Independent Electoral Commission to conduct election in that place, it's only 1-0 or 10-0, which means what they are doing is coronation, promotion, and appointment, not election. And we said local government should be directly funded. Money meant for local government should not be sent through any crony. Let the money eat the account of local government. Let us scrap joint account allocation committee, and also ensure that we remove the power of State House Assembly to legislate and determine the existence of local government. Once we are able to do that, we'll get it right. The security challenges in Nigeria will end. There will be mass reduction in poverty. There will be growth and development in local government across the country. There will also be women empowerment and youth development across the country. Thank you.
Okay, my name is Baba Jimmy Benson. I represent Ikorodu Federal Constituency, and I represent Lagos State in the constitutional review process.
About the creating of local government
Okay.
in Nigeria.
Okay.
Do you think this local government should be created from the local government itself, or the state, or the federal government?
Yes, we got a lot of presentations. Some people are of the opinion that the federal government has no business in creating local governments. Some felt that the states should be the ones creating local governments. Some even feel that funding, the local government should be autonomous and funding should come straight directly from federal, and the state shouldn't have any interference in it. So My question was to the fact that which all should all sit down and agree on a way forward. Do we want states to be creating local governments? Do we want states to be creating local government and sending same to federal to list in the 774? I also brought out the issue that every state wants to create a local government. If we allow that, the 774 may become 1 million. Who funds the 1 million? Because whatever is good for the goose is good for the gander. So we haven't fashioned out that single silver bullet, that process, or have a position on how this should be achieved. The most important thing for me is for local governments to be effective and for a local government chairman to be able to perform and perform very well, that he'll be able to compete with the governor in that state. As long as that doesn't happen, we would not see development. If you recall, in America, Rudolph Giuliani was mayor of New York City during the 9/11. He ran to be president on the strength of his achievements as mayor in New York. So we need to find a way of making our local government chairman be able to perform as well as the governor performs so that citizens can see them and say, I'm going to vote for this man as the next governor of my state.
Remains a very powerful pan-Nigerian organization. And so therefore our views do not reflect ethnic, religious, or any of those sectional biases. The submission of the NIC and the different constitutional review engagement are anchored on promoting inclusive socio-economic development, decent work, gender equality, respect for labor standards, good governance, and strengthening of institutions. Two pillars of our presentation: the core labor issues and the socio-economic and cultural and political issues. On the core labor issues, the NSA has made an extensive presentation, even at the floor of the House of Representatives, to the Honorable Speaker. And our position remains sacrosanct, that labor matters should remain on the exclusive list. Minimum wage should be retained on the exclusive list. And our arguments are anchored on several international labor conventions to which Nigeria is signatory, and also the fact that we've not had problems putting them on exclusive list. Also, if you also look at the practices all over the world, in federal states, labor matters, minimum wage matters, and right there on the exclusive list. The arguments are well canvassed in our paper. I won't have to go repeating them. Now, maybe I will spend just a little time on minimum wage. And we argue that currently there are over 90% of IMF countries who are members of the IMF that have their minimum wage laws. The issue of true federalism is out of the question. 26 countries of the old democracy bloc that retain the national minimum wage in their national laws, including the United States of America and Germany, practice true federalism. Some of these countries have practiced federalism for more than 200 years. Yet, minimum wage and labor issues remain at the exclusive list in these federal states. We also look at it that minimum wage is also an opportunity to protect the weak and the vulnerable. And luckily for us, our constitution, as is already drafted, recognized. So we submit that this to both labor on the exclusive list and minimum wage on the exclusive list should we are using the occasion of this review, this public hearing, to reaffirm our already established position on these two critical issues. On the broad socio-economic and political issues, we align with our colleagues in the National Union of Local Government Employees about their agitation for the autonomy, financial autonomy for local government. The NSC is also a combination of different affiliates in the different sectors. The judiciary workers of Nigeria also have an established position calling for judicial autonomy. the Nigerian Labour Congress supports this position. Ditto with the Parliamentary Staff Association of Nigeria. They have a well-crafted, very clear position on the call for the autonomy for state legislations. On electoral reform, we side with the Ways report and some of the recommendations that are contained there. We demand for electoral offences commission and support the call for independent candidates. Diaspora voting. Filling time for the conclusion of election petitions and other general reforms that will make INEC deliver transparent, credible, free, and fair elections. On socio-economic rights, many people have spoken the heart of Nigerians, which is that chapter should be justiciable. And the right of people to food, the right to education, the right to housing, should be something that we should hold our elected officials very accountable. On gender mainstreaming, quite a number of associations and non-governmental organizations have made representation, and we think that gender should be mainstreamed in all spheres of government in Nigeria. Nigerian women should be given unfettered access to enjoy rights and privileges provided for in the 1999 Nigerian Constitution and as guaranteed by numerous international conventions and treaties. We also demand proportional representation in Parliament, especially for women. On immunity, we take the position on all civil matters, immunity they apply. On criminal cases, people in public offices should be treated like every other citizen. On indigenship and residency, we call for the ratification and domestication of ILO Convention 169, which demands that indigenous and tribal people shall enjoy human rights without discrimination and shall have the right to decide their own priorities and exercise control over their own development. State creation. We believe that the different zones should be able to sit and agree based on their physical capacity and their geographical dimension about state creation. On fiscal federalism, the revenue allocation formula should be reviewed to the advantage of state and local government areas. Instead of current attempt on salary redistribution, we call for wealth redistribution through the instrumentality of a progressive tax administration system. On devolution of power and matters relating to state police, we call for the strengthening of our existing security architecture, but with greater emphasis on the properly structured and overlapping community policing and local intelligence network. These are persuasion that the constitution of our position will advance the cause of the downtrodden, the workers, the generality of Nigerians, and engender a more stable quality for the actualization of our people. In summary, we put forward before this public hearing the following prayers. One, that the National Assembly to retain labor, the national minimum wage on the exclusive list as currently listed under the second schedule, part 1, section 34 of the 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and also retain the administration of pension as currently captured in section 173 of the 1999 Constitution, as listed under the second schedule, part 1, subsection 34 of the 1990 Constitution of the Federal Republic. Second, we believe that the National Assembly should favorably consider our demands for the full realization of local government autonomy, as I've already stated, which our colleagues in local government are also championed. Legislative autonomy and the autonomy of the judiciary and of government. Finally, the National Assembly should consider our submissions on strengthening and promoting socio-economic and cultural rights of Nigerians, especially as captured under Chapter 2 of the 1999 Constitution under review. With your kind permission, I have this copy to still present to the chair. The other copies are already deposited in the secretary. I thank you very much.